Ashe, Ma'at Hotep. This is The Truth May Hurt. My name is Raymond Witcher, and I will be your host. I'm going back and redoing a couple of the first videos that I made when I started this channel because I wasn't used to the software. It wasn't well put together, and this is one of the most important parts or reasons that I started this channel, is to get to the bottom, the root cause, the start, the beginning of racism. Okay, where did it come from? Racism comes from the root word race. What is the definition of race? Race is defined as a competition to establish one winner and one or more, or a bunch of losers. You can have only one first place, one winner. You can have second place, third place, fourth place, fifth place, but you can only have one first place. So, what is before, I think it was, you'll see this in this video, I think it was like the late 17, oh no, it was like the 1700s. There were no people identified as white, black, or any other people defined by a race. Okay? And race, the human race, what is the definition of the human race? Okay? Well, it's the same definition, but more specific as the definition race, because it's identified as the human race. So what is the human race? The human race is a competition which was designed specifically to ensure white people always come in first, and specifically that black people always come in last. Now, whoever falls in second place, third place, or whatever, is fine, as long as whites always come in first and blacks always come in last. Now, the Constitution was written to ensure the human race status in this country. Whites were always the best, the first, and got the best of the best. And the blacks were the least of the least and always got the least, got nothing. So we're going to look at this, and I want to show you, let's start. Well, let's start here. Yeah, let's start here. I'm going to start with a video of Dr. Claude Anderson. But before I show you the video, let's qualify who Dr. Claude Anderson is. Dr. Claude Anderson is the president of Powernomics Corporation in America. All right. And he harvests the bestseller author and activist. Okay, if you go down here, you can see some of his books. Okay, and I would encourage you to read some of these books. Okay, I'm going to show you a couple of these things in this presentation, but I wanted to qualify who Dr. Claude Anderson is. Then I want you to go on YouTube. I'm going to show you a section of this, and we're going to keep on going into the presentation because I want to give you who I study with, who I study from, so that you can have it as a source of information, as a resource. Nobody can challenge these people. Dr. Claude Anderson served on 2 presidential cabinets. I'm pretty sure he was on the President Bill Clinton's cabinet, and he may have been on one of the Bush's cabinets, but he's a very intelligent, qualified. He served at all top levels of the government. And see, here's what's important, okay? One of the 7 deadly sins, and we'll get on to I'll do a presentation on the 7 deadly sins, but I'm going to show you a couple, is jealousy, envy, greed. Okay? Now, all of the 7 deadly sins, what makes them so deadly is none of them can ever be satisfied. You can't satisfy greed. You can't satisfy being jealous. You're always going to see something that you don't have that you feel that you deserve. You can never be satisfied with seeing someone have something that you don't have or better than you have. Lust, those kind of things can't be satisfied. The thing I really love about Dr. Claude Anderson and the other men and women that I show you is they're not greedy people. A person is not greedy. You can't compromise them with money, with glitter, gold. You can't compromise them because they stand on their morals. They stand on the truth. Okay. So I want to show you a couple things on Dr. Anderson, but here's what I want you to do. Go on YouTube and search for his interview with the Breakfast Club. Okay. This is the interview with the Breakfast Club. And the other one I want you to look at is, well, I'll show you that later. Okay. I'll show you that later. Let's do the Breakfast Club first.
Man, go ahead, brother.
I want to take you first to the 19-minute mark. Now, I want you to listen because while I'm going here, I'm skipping through this.
This is a nation, an immigrant nation.
Because this is the foundation of racism. Now, before racism, there was hate, but it wasn't hate according to race. What you're going to hear here is now after the King James Bible came out, Pope Innocent II and King James made blacks slaves for life. Now, before this, nobody was identified as slaves for life. There were slaves and there were indentured servants. Okay? But it wasn't race specific. It was, everybody. But when the Europeans came to America, they saw all of the land, they saw all the wealth, they saw all of the riches. Pope Innocent and King James decided we need a permanent category of people that will be slaves. And this is based on the biblical teachings of the curse of Ham, that all blacks will have the curse of Ham. They'll have dark skin, big lips, kinky hair, big noses, big appendages. Listen, and it actually said Negroes. The word Negro wasn't even a word until the 1800s, 1500s. So don't try to convince me that God told Moses and Noah that all of the descendants of Ham are going to be Negroes. The word didn't exist. Okay, so listen to this and we're going to keep it going.
It's basically for whites only. And black folk, you are not citizens. It's going to be a social construct that the bro here just mentioned to you. The construct is that, how are we going to do that? It's well at the top. Let's all the Europeans that got money want to invest in the United States. They got rich people. Then that'll be the top scale. They can come here and get all the land.
Wait a minute.
That's Benjamin Franklin, George Washington.
I didn't start at the right place. We're going to go to the 15-minute mark. I knew I was missing something. Let's go to the 15-minute mark. And let's start here.
In the Vatican, the popes we use is a slave. In a race-based society, why is it called a race? Race never started, never existed on the earth until the 1500s. See, and that's when it started. That's where racism comes from. They didn't pick racism just out of thin air.
It's a social construct.
It's a social construct.
Yeah.
It's a social construct. They started, what we're going to do now that Columbus discovered America, in 1492, we got a lot of land over there. It's pretty much vacant. And we need to go over there and try to get that land. And what they said is, well, let's go back. How are we going to do it? And they said, well, let's see. Back in about 1446, we had a guy named Henry the Navigator that went around the coast of Africa. And he picked up about 16 black Africans and brought them back to Europe, gave them to the Pope in the Vatican. And the Pope said we use these as slaves. And so the Vatican used blacks as slaves. That was one of the first ones, from about 1446 up to about 1488. Then Pope Innocent came out and said, well, you know, having these people as slaves, that's a good thing. And so why is that important now? Because you see, the Fox Channel be telling you all, while blacks complain about being slaves, we've always had slaves. No, you have not. You may have had slaves, but not based on skin color. And Pope Innocent came out and says, in the future, don't enslave anybody based on the traditional manner. You can only enslave people for being either a prisoner of war or for personal indebtedness or religious persecution. He said, let's skip that now and enslave them based on skin color. That was her start, that's her trigger in 1488. So when Columbus discovered America in 1492, he had all this land over here. In that particular time.
Yeah, water for you.
Excuse me, thank you.
Yes, sir.
At that particular time, Europe was being decimated. Europe was under major problems. The entire European continent was being decimated with crime, famine, and diseases. They didn't know what to do in the late 1400s and early 1500s. And all of a sudden they said, you know, since Pope Innocent says that we got some people we can use now as slaves, and we got
Take your time, brother. We here. We got time.
I know you all gonna put me out of here in a few minutes.
No,
you
man,
good,
we
you
got
good.
time. They've been waiting on you for years.
You tell me a tale.
No, I'm not. People been asking for you for years. We got time.
Okay, I don't want to take up all your time.
No, you good.
Ain't no white man coming in here with a sign saying, "Oh, get him up out of here. He talking all this shit."
So when Columbus discovered America, they had all this land, and Pope Innocent said, use these people, let's have a new form of slavery. No longer based on religion, personal indebtedness, or prisoner of war. Let's use them skin color. And so by the 1500s, we could use that and save America. So a race started. A race is a contest. That contest started between 9 European nations. Portugal, they all said, let's get in the contest so we can go to the Americas first.
Okay, so what you are listening to right now is the birth of racism, the foundation of racism. I don't make these videos out of the blue. I really try to put things together, and listen, you can never solve a problem until you understand how the problem started. How was it created? And this is what you're getting ready to hear. How racism started, how it was created, how it's protected, and what we really need to do to stop it. So I really want you to subscribe to all of Dr. Claude Anderson's his channel, because he's going to give you the truth.
And capture all that land and build wealth. That's what they came here for. Now you all get by that stuff about they believe in about the Constitution, but they came here for religious persecution. Nobody came here for no damn religious persecution. They came here for happiness. Nobody can get on a damn boat and sail across the Atlantic coming to America for happiness. They ain't that stupid. They came here for enrichment. Every tourist immigrant came to America. They came here for personal enrichment. That's what they came here to get values, resources. And they started bringing people. So all these countries were competing to try to capture Americas and build it up for enrichment. And that's what happened with Americans. When they got to America, and later on, let me jump up. Now, they said, well, we got all this land now, and we got these people, let's draw the Constitution. That's what, so as I told you a few minutes ago, they met in Philadelphia, says, let's take all this land. We're gonna create a document called the Constitution. That was in 1789. We're gonna ratify this. And we ratified, it's gonna be a social construct that the bro here just mentioned to you. The construct is that, how are we gonna do that? It's well at the top. Let's all the Europeans that got money want to invest in the United States. They got rich people. Then that'll be the top scale. They can come here and get all the land. That's Benjamin Franklin, George Washington, all those guys, and Thomas Jefferson. They were wealthy people. They said underneath that, that's the top level. Underneath that, we'll set up a management class to bring in poor whites. They'd be the management class. And at the bottom, we're gonna bring in these blacks. They have to be managed and classify them as property, as non-citizens. That way they'll never get anything. We got them locked in box. That's in the Constitution. And that's how they got you. The first thing they did the next year in 1991, they passed the first immigration law, says, let's bring in all these poor people. This is a nation, an immigrant nation. It's basically for whites only. And black folk, you are not citizens. You have no entitlements, no rights, and no privileges, and nothing. Everything we put into the hands of the dumb white society.
Why is it expected for black wealth to drop in the
Okay,
future?
Oh, for a certain reason. Because
I'm gonna speed up to the 21-minute mark.
creates wealth. Wealth creates wealth. And when they talk about slavery, what blacks don't have any wealth was because they took whites captured your wealth. Labor is wealth. Labor, you can't have wealth without labor. That's the point I'm gonna bring to you. It's impossible to have wealth without labor. And so in the 1500s, they said, well, that's what we're gonna do.
Let me interject this. What he just said, you can't have wealth without labor, and they needed slaves. Well, the labor that they're creating today is going to be coming from robots. It's going to be coming from automated systems. It's going to be coming from AI. They don't need people. This group of elite families have gotten to the point that they no longer need humans to work for them. And what do you think their plan is? To get rid of as many people as they can down to the quota of the specific groups of people that they deem worthy of life here on earth. I want to interject that.
We're gonna all in this race now. We're gonna compete between the French, the Germans, the British, the Spain. We're gonna go to America. We're gonna compete to get the resources. And so they said, let's take this. So we're gonna come up with a new thing called capitalism. Capitalism came out of the land and the Pope Innocent's thing about slavery. They said, when you go to America, here's what you're gonna do, practice capitalism. That means owning the land, the tools, the resources, and using someone else's labor to enrich yourselves. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And since black folk couldn't enrich themselves, everybody else came to the country, enriched themselves off of black folk. They took your labor from you, and then everybody became rich for it. And that's why when slavery ended, as I said a few minutes ago, the average white person had 3,500 times more wealth than blacks.
So how do we catch up now? How do we make sure that we can at least catch up on the financial freedom as much as possible?
You just asked a good question. You should be running for office instead of Booker and Harris.
Are they all light skinned? They can do it.
Yeah, you can
They can fit in.
You all are funny, and you're right on target. No, you do it. You start in the books, as I said in my books.
Mm-hmm.
First thing you develop two things they took from you in slavery. Took two things from you that are key to getting to the points you are on how you're going to solve it. One, they stripped you of your wealth.
Mm-hmm.
Your labor was your wealth. You never gained anything from it. They got it and captured it and spread it around. And that's like in resources. For instance, land. Everybody coming to the country got land but you, as a race. When they said we're going to start building wealth based on land. And George Washington, the first one, says, well, if all the wealth is going to be in the land, I want 100,000 acres of free land. And then Thomas Jefferson said, well, if he's going to get 100,000 acres of free land, I want 100,000 acres of free land. Then Patrick Henry, you all read about in your history book, that said, give me liberty, give me death. He also said, hell, give me some land. I'm on 65,000 acres of free land. And so what the white society did while blacks were being enslaved, they gave every immigrant coming to the country, as soon as his foot hit the ground, he picked up over 750 acres of free land per immigrant. Then for every slave they owned, they got another 150 acres of free land. And so after about 100 years, this country had given away over 2 billion. They gave away 2 billion acres of free land to immigrants.
Now keep in mind, the 2 billion acres of free land that they gave wasn't their land to give, it was land that they stole.
Now why is that? Now that's where your wealth is. Now in that land, not only the value of the land, but in that land, what do they have on it? They got timber, gold, chrome, magnesium, gold, silver, oil.
Resources.
Resources.
Yeah.
That's the resources. Blacks don't have any resources.
Mm-hmm.
So when you came and say, I want 40 acres of a mule, they said you got to be crazy. I'm not gonna give you 40 acre mule. We just gave away 2 billion. We're gonna give you anything. And the other Europeans came in about the same time with 1862. They gave this away, and all the newcomers, you're gonna get 150. And coming from Europe, you cross the Mississippi River to develop the Western countries. They gave away 20. They gave away 20 in 24 hours. They gave away over 2 million acres of free land. They started railroad lines, 11 railroad lines. They gave them 24 million acre free land, but blacks never got any land. So what we're gonna do now to play the game?
I'm gonna go to the 37-minute mark, and we're gonna stop on this one, and we're gonna go forward.
You had a chance to get some of it. Let me go back in history again. See, I told you in the first, you got two. Most people don't know this, but you got two constitutions.
Mm-hmm.
You got the first constitution was 1789. That's the 1 through 12 amendment, and those amendments gave whites everything they needed. That's why white folk didn't have all these. They didn't have any big demands other than what was in the Constitution. So from 1789 up to 1860, the first Constitution was in effect, Amendment 1 through 12. But what happened after that was that in 1857, go back about 3 years, you had a black man went to court called Dred Scott. You familiar with that?
Yes.
He went to court trying to get some freedom based on the fact that he moved across state lines out of the South. He thought he was going to be free. He went to court, and finally the Supreme Court ruled against him and said, no, you cannot free. Why? He said, why? And it's basically because in this country, because you're considered to be property. You're property in the Constitution. You're a citizen. You're not non-citizen in the Constitution. You have no rights. You have no rights. So therefore, a black person has no rights that a white person is bound to respect. And that was in 1857. So when the Civil War was over, after the Civil War was over, what they wanted to do, you had some white Republicans, liberal ones, saying we got to go back and give black folks something. You got to give them something. And so they said, we're going to start a second constitution. The 13th, 14th, and the 15th Amendment and the Civil Rights Laws constitute a second constitution of the United States. 99.5% of all the people in America don't understand that. They don't understand you got two constitutions. The first constitution was the one that 1789 all the way up to the amendments 1 through 12, 13th, 14th, and 15th amendments. That was written strictly and solely for black folk. But I never had any black folk yet. The Harris and the Bookers that run for office, they don't understand that.
Mm-hmm.
That they should be fighting saying, we got two constitutions. If I get elected to public office, I'm going to go back to that second constitution and try to get those things that were set aside for black folk. And what was that? The radical Republican says that in 1860 in the United States Congress, that in this nation, black folk can either be one or two things. You're going to be slaves or you're going to be free. To be free in America as black people, you must minimally have 40 acres and a mule. And $100. That's where that saying came from. You must have 40 acres, a mule, and $100. And but what happened after that was said, then you had the guardians of racism kill it. The United States Supreme Court is a guardian of racism.
Listen.
The Supreme Court is my primary purpose is to make sure nothing changes racial issues in America. That's why the United States Supreme Court has never ruled effectively to the benefit of black folk. And so as soon as they enacted the 13th Amendment, the 14th Amendment, and the 15th Amendment, and the Civil Rights Laws. And the Civil Rights Law says that black folk must have certain benefits. They set up freedmen banks and everything else. But the United States Constitution came in and killed it. Supreme Court came in and killed it. You ever heard of what's called period of Reconstruction? You know what Reconstruction was? Between 1865, there was a 10-year period between 1865 and 1875. It was called Reconstruction. Now, what I tell black folk is that you should be saying, why did they call it Reconstruction? It was reconstruct. What do you mean by reconstruct? The first Constitution was a social construct that locked you into the bottom barrel permanently. Reconstruction that took place between 1865 and 1875 says redo the thing, give black folk a chance.
Remember when I told you that the human race game, the human race scam, it established that whites always have to come in top and blacks always have to come in last? This is what he's talking about. The social construction of this, the social engineering of this.
And it's supposed to go on forever. But the United States Supreme Court jumped in and killed it in 1875. It only lasted 10 years. They came in and said, no, we're not going to give black folk anything. Set them free with no land, no rights, no privileges, no tools, no animals, no house, no homes, no organization, no education, no animals, nothing. and tell them to root, hog, or die.
Mm.
And that's why Trump right now is stacking your courts with conservative Supreme Court justice.
Over 160.
That's
Now notice this interview was done during President Donald Trump's first term. Okay, what he's saying is he was stacking the deck then for his second term. He wasn't reelected, but now he wasn't reelected for his second term, but now he's been reelected for his second term, and he's putting this plan back into operation. So pay attention. He's removing everything from the schools that teaches anything about Black, and he's using all kind of terms of like it's hostility for anything positive about Blacks to be taught in schools. Okay, notice that he's removing the heads, the head man in the Air Force, General, he was a Black man. He fired him or removed him from his job and replaced him with a lesser qualified person. One of the Black people that he removed, he actually replaced him with a man from Fox News or CNN News that has no experience. He doesn't want experience. He wants people that are going to help him carry out his plan. Okay? And if you were paying attention, when the president of El Salvador came, he was on a hot mic, and Donald Trump said, we're going to get the homegrown one next and ship them out of the country. You need to build 5 more prisons. Pay attention.
That's right.
People haven't even realized that yet.
What, I'm sorry, say it again?
The people haven't even realized that 160 lifetime federal judges he's appointed.
That's right.
Some of the most racist, bigoted bastards you ever gonna meet.
Right. Well, that's right. See, what they don't understand in the Supreme Court, the first 57 Supreme Court justices were slave owners.
So
Did
how
you
are
know
they
that?
going to
No,
represent
sir.
us?
You got it.
You
now.
think they
First-
really want
first
us to be
57
free?
were slave owners.
No.
And the other 6 or 7, about another 6 or 7.
Do you think they really want us
Have
to
been
be
white
free
racists.
now? No.
That's why right now you got a Supreme Court sitting there with 9 people on it. What they're telling you is that justice in America for Black folk can only be seen through the eyes of whites.
Mm.
You can't see it otherwise. That's why you got 9 people on the Supreme Court. You got 9 people. You got 9 whites there. One pretending he's trying to be Black.
Clarence Thomas.
Clarence Thomas. but none of them take up any issues for Black folk. Let's go to the lower level, the federal courts. I know I'm running past my time.
Nah, you good?
Man, go ahead, brother.
Okay.
You good?
Okay, let's go to the federal courts. Now, since Trump has been in office, he's put in about 40-some federal judges.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
No, more than that.
You don't know how many's got
That's
in?
160.
Okay, I don't know where
Yeah.
I've been keeping track. Now, think about that. I've been giving you all a lot of dates.
Mhm.
The Constitution, 1789, remember that?
Mhm.
Up from 1789 all the way up to 1948. The United States, know how many federal judges they appointed during that period? 1,400 federal judges between 1789 and 1948. Why did I say 1948? That was the first time they appointed a Black to a federal judgeship. All the federal judges were whites. Now, 1948. Now, between 1948 and up to about 1990, or the 1980s is the later point, at that point, they put in about another 30. They put in 30 Black judges.
Okay, I'm gonna stop this on Dr. Claude Anderson right here, because I got some things I want to show you. I want to give you the foundation so we understand now the foundation, where it came from, how it started, that they put the Supreme Court in place to protect it and defend it. So now what I want to do now is I want to show you another big part of the foundation of racism. Okay? I want to show you that in order for them, they had to put things in place to keep us under control. One of the biggest things is religion, Christianity, Islam. The second thing is they had to erase our history, our culture, our nature. And it says that in my presentation on the Willie Lynch letter of how to make a slave. They said we have to erase the natural nature of the nigger, because the natural nature is what teaches them everything. See, the first name for God was nature. Okay. That's why every other animal has no problem living the same way they live the day God created them. They're still in harmony with nature. Nature teaches them everything. Okay, so let's go down. Things that we have been shown and taught that separated us away from our nature. Okay, the reason I'm showing you this picture right here is, well, let me go right here. Let me just keep on going when I'm going. These pyramids in Egypt, they're perfectly aligned with stars. They are not just put in random places. They serve a purpose. And actually inside these temples, they have found resistors, capacitors, filaments. That's what you put in light bulbs to they heat up and make the light come out. So these were the first solar energy this was the first solar energy that could convert energy from the sun into electricity. Okay. The second thing I want to bring up is, let me go here. The pineal gland. Okay. The pineal gland is what we have been told to stay away from, which is our third eye. When you see this symbol, it's talking about your third eye. Okay. Your third eye is what gives you a direct connection to your spirituality and your creator. Okay. And as long as we were in concert with nature, we were in communication with God, we were in concert with God and our ancestors. Okay. So they had to separate us from that. And that's what the Willie Lynch letter said. We have to break the natural nature of the nigger from an independent state of mind to a dependent state of mind. So when they robbed us of our culture, our history, our spirituality, and forced their culture, history, spirituality on us, our pineal glands became calcified. We had no relationship with our internal self, with our creator one-on-one, and our ancestors. They told us, well, you need a pastor, a preacher, a pope, a bishop, because they're the only ones that can understand God. Well, that's a lie. Okay. So the reason I'm showing this picture is, if you see the sun here, the best ways to decalcify your pineal gland so that your pineal gland starts back functioning is, when you see the sun on the horizon first thing in the morning or last thing in the evening before it sets, the sun isn't yellow, it's orange. The whole horizon is orange. See, people say you can't stare into the sun. Yes, you can. You can't stare into the sun when it's at high noon or when it's orange, but when it is this color, you should sun gaze. You should stare at it, because the sun comes through your eye and reflects off of your retina onto your pineal gland, and it decalcifies it. Your spirituality will start awakening. Okay, let's go to the next picture. The picture on the right is the African Ankh, A-N-K-H. We have been taught that this is a symbol of satanic worship, it's evil, it's devil worship. Now keep in mind, everything that was of our culture and history, they had to demonize it, weaponize it, and turn us away from it. So they turned our African symbol into a symbol of the devil, and they gave us a cross. Well, what does the symbol of the Ankh really represent? And what does the cross represent? The cross is a representation of torture, death, and suffering. The cross has nothing to do with Jesus Christ. It has nothing to do with your salvation. It has everything to do with your destruction and your mental state of consciousness. Okay? What does the Ankh represent? If you look over on the right, on the left, it shows you. Now, if you go down on the picture on the right, when you see the Ankh come up with its shaft, this represents the male phallus. The circle at the top represents the womb of the woman. The cross that goes from both sides represents the fallopian tubes of the woman, which is the cycle of life. So if you see here, the shaft of the phallus of the man comes up and it joins and unions with the woman. It creates the baby inside on the left, and the two fallopian tubes on the right. Okay? So it is showing the cycle of life that can only be created by the union of a man and a woman. Don't let anybody keep teaching you everything that you need to know. Now, let me ask you a question. Doctors go to school and graduate as doctors, PhDs, attorneys, all of these people with the higher education. Do you think they believe they know all that there is to know because they are a doctor, or that they're an attorney, or they have a PhD in education? Do they know everything that there is to know? And a lot of the things that they were taught in school in 50 years, it won't be true anymore. So things that are true or things that are false, sometimes they're only true or false for a certain period of time while you're in that level of consciousness. Once you grow out of it, doesn't mean it's true anymore. Okay? This is the other symbol of the pineal gland. Now, if you take a person's brain and dissect it straight down the middle, find that picture. Where is it? Do I have it here? I don't think I have it here. Hold on. Let me try to find it. Okay. If you pull up a picture of the pineal gland that has been dissected, that separates the right hemisphere of the brain from the left hemisphere of the brain, this is the pineal gland. Okay? This is what you're trying to decalcify. All right? So when you see this symbol, this is the pineal gland. This was the first Egyptian art work that's on the hieroglyphics in Egypt of the pineal gland. Well, how did the Egyptians know about the pineal gland back 5,000 years ago? I have studied hieroglyphics. I know how to read hieroglyphics, and now I understand hieroglyphics. And when you read the hieroglyphics, you will start to understand that our ancestors carved in stone the truth. When the Europeans conquered Egypt, the Greek, they took the truth of ours and distorted it into their story. The whole Bible, or most of it, is engraved or is in African hieroglyphics, scrolls, and history. Okay, so the pineal gland has nothing to do. This is why they don't want you to know about it, because once you learn about it and you study it, you're gonna wake up. And if you notice what they're doing all around America now is removing from the schools, they will refuse to allow children at young ages to learn anything about their history, their culture, or their natural spirituality. Why? Because they know that you're gonna walk away. They know that you are gonna say, I tap out. I'm not playing your game anymore. I know now. Who convinced us that all God wants us to do is believe? Who? Who convinced us that we are horrible sinners, that we were born in sin, and regardless of what you do, you can't please God? Who convinced us of that? The people that want to keep us entrapped in slavery. And see, listen, you talk to black people, and they will tell you they hate everything about slavery but Jesus Christ and the Bible. It's sad. Once you understand that that is the most controlling factor in our enslavement, then now we believe on a God outside of us when the God that created us in his image is within us, okay? So we need to get away from that. This symbol right here is the symbol of the goddess Ma'at, okay? Okay, so this is the symbol of the goddess Ma'at. Well, who is the goddess Ma'at? Okay, the goddess Ma'at. Ma'at is both the goddess of the personification of truth, cosmic balance, and justice. All right? Her ostrich feathers represents the truth. So there are 42 laws of Ma'at. And if you pull up and read the 42 laws of Ma'at, you will find the 10 Commandments. All of the 10 Commandments are in the 42 laws of Ma'at that were written 5,000 years before the Bible. When you look at this goddess Ma'at, you see the same thing on the back of a dollar bill, okay? So they are telling us that our Africanness and our African goddesses and gods, and notice something, every African god had a goddess. He didn't have a Holy Ghost. They removed the Holy Ghost, they removed the goddess Ma'at and put in a Holy Ghost to make the Trinity. But the real Trinity, the first Trinity, is Father, Mother, Son. Father, Mother, Child. Now, if you look on the back of your dollar bill, right here, you see the goddess Ma'at. Right there, that's her. Okay? Let me back up and I'm gonna show you a couple more things right here. If you do a search on the goddess Ma'at on the dollar bill, you come down here, open up the 42 laws of Ma'at, and you will find all 10 of the commandments. I have not committed sin. I have not robbed with violence. I have not stolen. I have not slain man or woman. I have not stolen food. I have not swindled offerings. I have not stolen from God. I have not told lies. You remember, thou shalt not lie? Came from right here. Okay? I have not cursed. I have not closed my ears to the truth. I have not closed my ears to the truth. Open your ears. I'm bringing you the truth. So if you go down through here, you'll find the 10 negative confessions. Now, the thing about this is every Egyptian had to repeat and recite the 42 laws of Ma'at twice a day to God. They had to stand in harmony and nature with God twice a day, and they had to recite all of these from memory. They have to say, God, I have not stolen. I have not engaged in, I have not worked evil. I have not used evil thoughts, works or deeds. You had to recite these to God every day. Now, the biblical story of Moses, where did he live? He lived in Egypt. What, until he was 90? He had to repeat these per the biblical story 2 times a day. You think he didn't know that these? He didn't get 10 commandments off of the mountain from God. The mythical Moses stole this and put it in the Bible. And if you really want to know where the story of Moses came from, look up Thutmoses, the Egyptian Moses. Same story. Okay, so that's who Ma'at is. Now, the reason I want to show you this astrology sign is because the Bible is a story of 3 things: astrology, cosmology, and numerology. Okay, now, let me show you something. If you go in the Bible and when Jesus is feeding the 5,000 people with 2 fish, it's a mythical story. He wasn't feeding them with 2 fish. He was feeding them the age of Pisces, which are 2 fish. Okay, when you go in the Bible and Jesus tells, I think it was the disciples, to go into the next town, and you will find a man carrying a jug or pitcher of water. Follow him into his house. Because Jesus said and I think it's Matthew 28, verse 20. I will be with you until the end of the age. Until the what age? Until the end of the age of Pisces. And he says, go into the next town, and you will see a man bearing water. Okay, reference Luke chapter 22, verse 10. And I'm going to go down to the KJV. King James says, and he said unto them, behold, when ye are entered into the city, there shall a man meet you, bearing a pitcher of water. Follow him into the house where he entereth. He's telling the people that the age, this is him telling the people, I will be with you until the end of the age. And now he's telling them, when the end of the age of Pisces ends, you'll find a man in the next town, in the city, bearing water. Follow him. Now, why is this important? What is the significance? Because during this time, men didn't carry water. It was shameful for a man to be seen as a water barrier, carrying a jug or a pitcher of water. This was a woman's thing, okay? A man wouldn't do it, okay? So it's telling you that I'm only going with you until the end of the age of Pisces. You'll see the man bearing a jug of water. Follow him into his house. Let me show you one more thing, okay? Moses, look here at Taurus, the bull. When Moses came down from the mountain, he found they had built a gold bull. The gold bull is because they didn't want to leave out of the age of Taurus. Moses was telling them, look, this is a new age. Taurus is done. Throw the bull away. We're going into Aries, the sign of the ram. What is the female called? She's called the ewe. What is the offspring of the ram and the ewe? It's called a lamb. So at the end of the age of Aries, now keep in mind that each of these zodiacs only lasts, it lasts 2,160 years. So after 2,160 years of the age of Taurus, Moses comes, he goes up on the mountain, God tells him the 10 Commandments, he comes back and he finds him with the golden bull. And God told him, kill all of them. Even though God had just told him, thou shalt not kill. He told him, go from the front gate to the back gates, kill every man, every woman, every man's friend, leave nobody alive for building this bull. Because it's time for you to come out of the age of Taurus. We're going into the age of Aries now. Okay? So what happened after 2,160 years of the age of Aries? The new Savior came. Who was who? Jesus, in the age of Pisces. And what was Jesus called? The Lamb. It's because he came out of the age of Aries. He was birthed out of the age of Aries into the age of Pisces. And where are we now? We are in the age of Aquarius. And if you look up, the New World Religion opens its headquarters in Dubai in 2023. Then go down and you'll see a CO7 report of that. Well, the CO7 report is when all of the religious leaders went to Mount Sinai, back to the site where Moses went up and saw God. And they said, we need to go back up on top of Mount Sinai and ask God for 10 new commandments. They went up and came back with 10 new commandments. But the thing that I don't want you to miss when you read that report is President Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi went to this summit and they announced, we are here to introduce the world to our new God and our new religion. Because you're not in Pisces anymore. I don't care how much you love Jesus. That story is done. They're going to be for generations those that hold on to it because they were born into it. They lived through it and they have been taught to believe all of your life. Well, it's time to come out of that. Let me come on down here because I'm going to have to do this in two parts. let me show you this. Let me show you where they got the story of judgment, entering the kingdom of heaven. Okay, this, I might get these names wrong, but I think the reason that these gods have the heads of animals, bird head, a animal like a dog, a bird, is because most of the people during that time were illiterate. They couldn't talk, and they used images to teach those that couldn't read and the children. So here's the man that died here on the left, far left here. He's being held by his hand, and he's being led to the scale of justice. You see here? So the heart of the man is put on the left-hand side. And look what's holding in his left hand of this God. You see the African ankh right here. Okay? So he takes the heart of the man and he puts it on the left-hand side of the scale. You come over here, and on this side of the scale, one feather from the goddess Ma'at is taken and is put on the other side of the scale. And it's weighed. And your heart has to be lighter than the feather in order for you to enter the kingdom of heaven and judgment. You pass through judgment, now over here. So you see here, his heart is on the scale. And if you look at the scale, his heart weighs less than the feather, because the right side that the feather is on is lower than the side that his heart is on. So he had lived such a righteous life that was so pleasing to God that now he's going to be rewarded with the kingdom of heaven. And you see here, he is being admitted over here on the right into the kingdom of heaven. And if you look in the top left, you see the goddess Ma'at ushering him in to the kingdom of heaven. Now you see here, this is God sitting on the throne. Okay? But what does he have standing beside him? He has a goddess. He doesn't have a Holy Ghost. He has a woman. He has the yin and the yang, the male and the female. That's where you get balance. You don't get balance in a male and a male and a woman and a woman. I'm not bashing gay people or homosexuality, because I know how it started and I know how it came to be. But that's not what you were created to be. I'm not going to judge you for it. I'm not going to, it's your thing. You know, do what you want to do. I'm fine with it. But don't ask me to call a man a woman's name. And don't ask me to call a woman a man's name. That's your world. I'm not going to be a part of your fantasy. Okay? Look, when you get an autopsy, they're not going to care what your sexual preference is. Okay? When you're born and your birth certificate, it's not going to say, well, he thinks he's a woman, and I'm going to name, even though he has all of the male characteristics, I'm going to put female. It doesn't work like that. Okay, so here you see he's being ushered and entered into the kingdom of heaven. And if you look up at the top, this is heaven. This is heaven, the top bar. And if you look, they're all facing here, but they all have an ankh, African ankh in their hand. Okay, I think I'm gonna put the rest of this on well, I'll go down one more. I think I can fit this in. Social engineering. Willie Lynch letter says, we are gonna create Negroes. We're gonna socially engineer them. We're gonna destroy their mind. And the same thing that happens when you go into basic training in the military, they strip your mind. They strip you. They tell you you're not a human no more. You are a GI property. That's why they say GI soldier. You're a government issue now. When you come out of basic training, you don't think the way you thought before you went into basic training. You think and believe what the military tells you to think and believe, at least in their presence, okay? But I want to ask you, do you believe most African and black nations can be poor and look alike while all European nations are rich, from colonizing Africa and other places unless they're running a program. So, what is the program? Okay. Right. So, what I'm telling you here is, even though we think we know and we base it on what we believe, that's a flawed concept. You can't believe something and know it at the same time. All right? Whose rule is it in black homes? We all go to church on Sunday, mom and dad. See, the Willie Lynch letter said we're going to condition the moms to raise the children to our ways, not the fathers. That's why they had to destroy the father. All right? We aren't educated to learn. We're educated to remember what they gave us in their strict control education system. We're not taught to learn. We're taught to remember. This is all you need to know. All you need to know is this. Okay, this is why when your children come home from school, you need to be educating them to our history, culture, and spirituality. Because if we leave it in their hands, we'll never grow out of this. We have to start with our children younger than they do, so that when they go in school, they can come home and say, Mom and Daddy, you know, they taught me something. I said, child, don't listen to that. You just have to be able to pass their tests. But don't believe all of that stuff in the history books about you. That's lies. We have to start telling our children this. The only reason that this is important is so that you can go to school and get an A on that test. When your child understands that concept, man, they're going to stop believing that crap. All right? All right, look up the United States eugenics programs and how they specifically said they will use the black churches to control blacks. The pastors will control the members, and they will strictly control the pastors. I'm going to end this one right here, and I'm going to come back and finish with part 2. Okay, but I'm going to say, please like, subscribe, and share. Please start educating your children as early as possible, so that they understand and know the difference in between real shit and bullshit. All right. Ashe, have a great day.